Hi, I'm Nathan Oakley and this is video log number 47. I've just had a little flat earth feast of Patricia Steer and Rob Skeever and Mark Sargent and Jeranism. It's been brilliant. So I had a day off and kind of didn't do anything, lazed around the house and just took in a load of flat earth. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So that's been my day. The problem is, whenever you watch any of this stuff, you kind of start asking yourself a whole bucket load more questions, or trying to address some of the questions that come up on the shows. So on Jeranism's show, one of his guests was pointing out that the definition of proof for people who are academic is of a very different nature to the type of proof that you and I would use. And it was an interesting point when used against something that Mark Sargent had said. And Mark Sargent had pointed out that he had no idea what the next lie would be. And if NASA are deliberately letting out information to us, which I thoroughly believe is the case, having considered it for some time, the snowball's not getting exponential, but it's certainly gaining momentum. It's more of a controlled demolition, perhaps, than the deck of cards crumbling all at once, because that doesn't seem to be the case. And the reason I'm smiling so wryly is because I think the British are pushing the failure of NASA. I genuinely think that people from the British media are trying not to sabotage it, but to make the demolition go a little bit faster, perhaps, and convince people of the next lie in the chain. Now, hopefully over the series of video logs, I've subtly introduced the ideas that I'm going to now put forward in a way that has softened the idea into people's heads. But I think to look for the next big lie is a lot more simple than people think. We have to be comfortable with the globe. In order to accept that we don't live on a flat plane, we have to understand, at least to a certain extent, how the globe works. And therefore, the masses have to be programmed with this information, whether they want to be educated in it or not. Now, you could look at the various different levels that are programming to make us fight for the cause of the globe, but at a very base level, we're programmed with this information. We get this information from every single show we watch, either in a very in-your-face way in Star Wars movies, or in a very subtle way in South Park with the globe being on Cartman's desk when he's leaning out of a window. But on every level, we're exposed to the globe lie. Now, if you want to see what the next lie is, no problem. Just look at the next level of programming that we've been exposed to. And it's been exposed to us for a long time. If you take time travel and the show, the American show, I think it was called Dimension Jump, which is a pretty big giveaway, with Al and his iPad, getting every bit of information about any possible, request you could make. His computer had the answer. Or Red Dwarf, you've got Red Dwarf giving us parallel universes, time travel, transhumanism, you name it, holograms. Every single level of the next lie is there to be looked at in Red Dwarf. I mean, from the outset, you're given the character behind me in a very hell cell way. The guy gets killed by a nuclear explosion from not sealing a drive plate, despite the fact he's a very low-level technician, and he wipes out the entire crew. Again, very, very hell cell, very traumatic to watch, only to be brought back from the dead, nice little religious reference, as a hologram. So, every level of next-gen programming that you want to see is already being exposed to you, and a lot of people are already eating it up. Now, without knocking Insanity is Sanity, he openly confessed that he has used CERN in his examples, and I admire people who will look at every avenue, so don't feel that I'm knocking anybody who may actually think this is true, but my view is that CERN will be, from Europe, the next NASA. It will give us these proofs, and there'll be things that we already know about, I can guarantee you of that. There'll be no shocks, there'll be no surprises. We will be comfortable with what they tell us. News from CERN will not upset us. The dots and lines at this level, when the lie's not being divulged in its entirety, are slightly unnerving, but we're all comfortable with the globe and still are. But while that controlled demolition goes ahead, possibly forced along slightly more than it needs to be by the British, we will have a nice theory of everything lined up to make everyone comfortable with where they're living. And it will be a multi-dimensional lie, and we will know all about it. We'll all be very educated in it and have it comfortably seated in our minds long before it actually comes out and gets announced to us with cartoons and diagrams, just like the globe was. So if anybody's wondering what comes next, what's the next level of programming, just watch Red Dwarf. Any episode will do. You'll have something in there that they'll be convincing us of with CERN in the very near future. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you in the next video log.